Hey everyone, this is going to be a short video, but this is one of the side effects of dating a narcissist that people don't talk about, which is what happens after. Because there's somewhat of this discussion online that makes it seem like once you've dated the narcissist and that part of your life is over with and you broke up and you've moved on, you're going to heal and be happy and you're going to have this great life. And in a lot of ways you do. Your life really elevates in so many ways. Your mental health is in a better place. You are more free to do the things that you love and enjoy. You feel much lighter. You feel happier. But there's also this downside that people don't talk about, which is when you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, and not just like any old relationship, but say you were in a serious relationship. You were in love with this person. Maybe you built your life around this person in a way where you guys maybe moved together. Maybe you moved to the same town together. Maybe you forsook all of your friends, right? You stopped hanging out with all these people that you knew in the past because the narcissists said they weren't good enough or there was something wrong, or you got into an argument every time you were going to hang out with these people, so you just slowly stopped hanging out with these people. The narcissist did what they did to isolate and control you. Once you're isolated, nobody talks about how hard it is to come out of isolation when you're dealing with a narcissistic relationship. How you no longer have this ability to trust people, so you don't allow people to get close to you. So much of being in a narcissistic relationship is figuring out how to put up walls. You're playing, in essence, what's that game that my little brother and my nephew play? I think it's called Fortnite. And I think in Fortnite, you like build up these walls, right? And it's like a defense mechanism. You're constantly doing that when you're in a narcissistic relationship. You're constantly building up a new wall to kind of circumvent or to get around conflict or frustration or anger of dealing with the narcissist. And you learn how to close yourself off. You learn how to shut parts of yourself down to survive. Because if we're honest and we felt all the feelings that we need to feel while we're engaged in this relationship with the narcissist, we would lose ourselves. We would literally have physical breakdowns. I know I started having panic attacks and anxiety attacks when I was dealing with the narcissist. I know other women who have shared the same, that they literally started dealing with anxiety attacks when they felt like they were losing their mind in some interactions they have with the narcissist. And in order for that not to happen, because you feel yourself slipping away, you literally start to shut down parts of yourself to ground yourself so you can have some sense of normalcy and move forward. The negative effect that this has is that it creates anxiety in all future relationships. You're saying certain things, maybe to your family, you're not telling them the full truth of what you're going through. With your friends, you've learned to shut a part of yourself off so that your relationship doesn't seem as bad. You may vent about little things, but you're making a very conscious decision not to talk about the real big things of what's going on because you're afraid to admit that you're being abused. In some instances, you don't even recognize you're being abused because that's how much you shut off. You've learned to disassociate. And the disassociation that you learn from narcissistic relationships has a long-term effect. You don't just get out of that narcissistic relationship and all your trust and your innocence and your liveliness and your confidence comes right back. You have to make a really conscious effort to do it. You have to go through counseling and you have to make decisions in your day-to-day life to support it. If you can't afford counseling, because I know that's a situation for some people, you need to surround yourself with people who love you, who are going to encourage you, who are going to challenge you to get out and to discover yourself, who are going to remind you of that version of yourself. Because so much of you has been shut down by the narcissist and isolated by the narcissist. You don't remember what it felt like to be free. You don't remember what it felt like to just become friends with somebody and not to think hard about, if I'm friends, what does this mean and how much do I have to share of myself? You don't remember what it was like to be able to just sit in a room and have a conversation with somebody that you just met and to be able to talk without somehow needing to bring up something of the past or bring up some sort of trauma that you experienced. You don't remember when things were lighthearted. You have to remind yourself when it was back or when there was a time in your life when things were lighthearted. It's a very conscious effort you have to go through. A lot of people who struggle with narcissistic abuse struggle to make friends and struggle to maintain friendships after that relationship. The best way to circumvent that, and it's like super hard because we're in a pandemic, is to get around other people, talk to people, find out your crowd. One thing, before I got in a relationship with a narcissist, I was an extrovert, which means that I loved to be around people and I loved to, I got energy from being around people, hearing them talk and just hearing different perspectives and viewpoints. And it wasn't super hard for me to make a friend. But once I got in a narcissistic relationship, I became very introverted, where being around other people felt draining to me because I felt like I was hyper aware and hyper conscious all the time, that I was self-conscious and hyper conscious. I was always aware of I was overreacting to every little thought, emotion, or, every little thing. I could look at somebody's face and their face would change when I would say something, or their body language would become standoffish, or one time they were nice to me and the next time they weren't nice to me and they're kind of standoffish. So that threw me off. Now I'm overthinking about why are they acting this way and did I do something wrong? So I shut myself down. This is what you learn from being in a narcissistic abuse relationship, is you learn to read the signs so that you can avoid as much conflict as possible. You're building up those walls like you do in Fortnite, and it does have negative detrimental effects. It is a form of PTSD that we struggle with if you're somebody who's built in a narcissistic relationship. So understand, if you're leaving that relationship, you were isolated and you didn't have friends, it could take a long time after that relationship. It could take years for you to rebuild your friendships. And especially if we're right now in this circumstance, it's unusual. We're in a pandemic. If you're trying to stay safe and you're not going out, you're not in an office environment, it's even more difficult, because not only were you isolated, but now you are trying to stay safe. You're not inviting strangers into your spaces and you're not going into spaces with strangers. So I just want to encourage anyone today that may be going through that and who may be struggling, that there is another side of this. You're going to heal. You're going to get better. There was a time where you got to experience that, and the narcissist is not going to steal your joy forever, that you can reclaim everything that you thought was stolen. Love you, and I'll talk to you soon.